For Underleveled episode 10, I'm going to take you back and show you a concert by the WPI Men's Glee Club, as well as some of our preparation for the show. And this includes 2 interviews. I'm happy to be able to showcase some of the work that they put in to make the Glee Club sound great. The show is called Love Lost. You have a better chance.
Love Lost can be both, a blissful, funny song, but then that there's also this great repertoire for men's chorus that is very heartfelt and very touching. When I started pulling pieces together and thinking about it more, I realized that this could also be a theme that was broader than just the comedy of, a guy who likes a girl and a girl who doesn't like the guy back. But that it could also deal with something more heartfelt, people that have, pain or loss of love in a greater sense. Be it somebody that they care for has passed away, or as we highlighted in our concert, the 3 pieces that deal with the refugee crisis and people that have lost their country, lost their home, often lost their family, their belongings, and generally even their future. No, they don't know where to go or where to turn to. My name is Joshua Rohde, and I'm the Director of Choral Activities here at WPI.
We've affectionately titled the concert Love Lost, humorous songs of love and woe. It's amazing the amount of repertoire and music that composers have written for men's ensembles that has to do with falling in and out of love, often more than once.
The theme Love Lost sort of developed out of a canon of Glee Club repertoire. As I introduced at the concert, there's a lot of pieces of music written for male voices that have to do with the comedy of men falling in and out of love. Often, fawning for a woman who, after 2 or 3 verses we hear them, fawning over this woman who then later, rejects them or something, and, then they go sadly another direction. With the more somber works, I actually found it very, very simple, and I almost needed to do nothing as far as encourage the men to sort of grapple with the issues that we were discussing. And I think because it's so potent and it's so dramatic and real, I think it really came to the forefront quite easily. For the humorous, romantic love stories, I often needed to encourage the men more to bring out more character, right? To bring their inner feelings, more to the forefront, because a lot of it's very funny. And if you were to sing it stoically and sing all the right notes and all the right words, it wouldn't mean anything, right? You wouldn't get the joke. You first need to approach the music from a purely musical aspect and learn the notes and the rhythms and the words. But then once you start making music out of it and start interpreting it, it obviously changes a lot. The first rehearsal and the first introduction of the music is generally a quick intro to the piece. I want to sing enough and at least play it on the piano so that the singers can get an idea of what this music is about. But introduce some of the text to them and some of the notes and let them understand if it's a happy or sad or fast or slow kind of song. And then the longest part of the process is then the next couple weeks that follow, next few rehearsals, which is the real nitty-gritty of the work, where it's singing the right notes, matching the harmonies, figuring out how to blend, putting the consonants in the right place, making the text audible, and understanding how the composer has set the text so that pickup notes sound like a pickup, and the climax of the piece is brought out in a way that other verses are not. So that's sort of the nitty-gritty that takes a lot of work and a lot of going back and forth and fine-tuning each time. And then when you get to the end of the rehearsal, you sort of learn, you grow, and then the last few rehearsals, there's usually a sweep in interpretation, understanding, and clarity for the piece. And that's usually the last few rehearsals when we talk the most about the meaning behind the music. Because now, after this part of the process, the singers take ownership of the piece of music. They feel confident in the notes, they understand the text, and then they have the headspace to add meaning, to add emotion, to add feeling. If you try and add emotion too early, odds are that somebody will forget to sing the right note. Then I don't think the meaning gets across. So you have to work in that order. But no doubt, the last couple of rehearsals, when we sort of swoop up and add the layers of meaning and really pull it all together and fine-tune it, it's really great. We have a couple student conductors here at WPI. This year it's Edward Andrews and Hannah Klouse. And both of the student conductors work with me privately on a weekly basis.
I'm Edward Andrews. A lot of people call me Edge. I'm the student director for the Men's Glee Club this year. As the student conductor, you're sort of learning what the director does, how to prepare the music, what kind of questions he's asking. As a conductor, you're doing pretty much 95% of the work beforehand. You need to identify the problem spots in a piece. If you've run it before, maybe what went wrong the first time, little places that you want to look at. If it's the first time, you want to look at places that, maybe there's a melody that comes back in the rest of the piece, so, you should focus on that first.
In a similar way that there's a progression for singers to learn a piece of music, it's the same for a conductor to learn a piece of music. Except that first part of the process for a conductor happens individually first. So I met with both Hannah and Edge for multiple weeks, learning just sort of the foundational aspects of how do you conduct. Then when you look at a piece of music, where do you start? How do you convey what's on the page to the singers, because that's really the role of a conductor, to bring the page of music to life.
I guess I didn't realize how much or how important the conductor's role in leading the group, actually affected the performance and the singers produced.
You can't practice conducting in the same way that you could practice violin, because for a violinist, you have your own instrument and you can go to a practice room or to your dorm room or anywhere you wanted to and work out your fingerings and then practice and practice and practice, and then you're set to go. Where a conductor, you can only prepare so much by yourself. You can conduct in a mirror, you conduct for one friend or something like that, or conduct for somebody playing a piano, but it's never the same as standing in front of a group of 40 guys and trying to convey music to them.
I got into rehearsal a little bit, doing it for the first time, and I was like, wow, what's happening? Like, why is this sounding weird? Or like, why aren't they singing what I think they should be singing? And Brody, would come in and be like, oh, you're not doing this, and you're like, oh, that's why they don't know, when to come in, or how fast to sing, or something like that. And I just, I have to do it and trust it. And if Brody, sees something that's, not clear or maybe not the best, he'll come over to me during rehearsal and maybe he will physically grab my arms and move my hands.
It's a balance between just letting him go and conduct through something and see what works and what doesn't work, but then also I don't want to leave him alone, and if he's falling into a trap, for example, there's an entrance that's not working, or for some odd reason, he's trying to show a dynamic, but nobody's responding to him, I'll step up and talk to him at that moment and say, hey, try this. Or did you notice they're not coming in because you're not breathing, or something like that, and point out usually a technical aspect. It's a balancing act, because if I comment and say too many things, then he never has a chance to do it himself. The student conductor role is a very visible role, of course, as you're standing in front of the entire choir, and a lot of what you do in that position is mirrored by the singers, consciously or subconsciously. And I think that's both musically and as far as character is related. Down among the dead men left him.
One more time, do something different. Okay. Ready?
Down among the dead men left
I've gained a much greater appreciation for what Rohde does. Rohde shows so much more than just, the tempo, the dynamics, breaths and stuff like that. If you're really watching him, I feel like you could almost sing any piece looking at the music 3 times, and some of it, even after doing student conducting, I was like, how does he do that? He made me feel a certain way while I was singing this certain part.
As the conductor, you want to feel like the sound is here, right? When it's clean, bum, this should be like you're singing in my hands. It's in the present. Bum, bum. You throw the sound at the floor. Yeah? Right? Delicate. Sort of like from the throat. If you don't love, right? No way she'll love you if you sing like that. Yeah? Refine the sound. If you don't love, pause, soft palate raise, nor the throat. Yeah?
It's a very rewarding feeling once you get to the point where you're comfortable with what you're doing. You come into this and you're sort of, you know, at least the first time, you're just kind of waving your arms and like hoping that they'll sing what you want them to sing, right? And as, you know, as you learn to develop what you're doing with your hands, as you get more comfortable, comes that confidence both on the singers and the conductor's part. And so by the end, when both parties are pretty comfortable with what's going to happen, it's a very powerful feeling. You know, you've got this, you know, spread of, like you were saying, up to 100 singers in front of you. And, you know, you're the one who gets to experience what they're singing first. And the sound hits you first. So being sort of at the center of that, everyone's looking at you.
With regards to the student conductor, I hope that the work that they do, both with me privately and the work in front of the ensemble, I hope that it will teach them more than just how to be a conductor. That's not necessarily the point. But I hope it teaches them something about leadership. I hope that the position will give them an opportunity to grow in ways that will impact other things that they do outside of WPI and possibly outside of music too.
The piece that I was preparing as student conductor for this concert was the Prayer of the Children. Rohde offered me a bunch of pieces and was like, hey, listen to these, which one do you think you might want to conduct? I listened to them and I was like, oh, that one sounds, you know, beautiful, I like that one a lot. I'll do that one. And I look at the music and I didn't really realize, but Rohde sort of explained it to me, that Prayer of the Children is sort of like an assortment of all of the challenges that a conductor could face, especially doing it for the first time.
You conducted Prayer of the Children, which is a very difficult piece in many, many ways. It's difficult technically because there's a lot of meter changes, there's time changes, it's fast, it's slow. Beyond all that technical stuff, there's a lot of this heavy, heartfelt meaning to Prayer of the Children. It's a song that discusses children who are caught in the middle of a civil war. The first couple pages, right? All our text, Can You Hear the Prayer of the Children, right? Speaks about people that nobody hears, that nobody sees, reaching hands, right? Also, this builds and builds and builds, crying, Jesus, help me. And we get to this climax, right? Where all of a sudden, it's like no words can understand, like, can convey the passion, convey the outpouring, the grief. I was very proud of Edj and his work because he's a man of a lot of character. He's very thoughtful, very humble, not boastful, not proud, not, you know, excited to be the student conductor so he can add something to his resume. He takes the role and is succeeding at the role because he is there for those other guys, which I think is what a conductor should be. It's a leadership role, yes, but you're there to bring the best out of everybody else.